Well, I think it begins with discovering something about what you're connected to. At the moment in the UK, there is an immense pace, mainly fear-driven, anxiety-driven, running around, not thinking, not deepening, just doing. And it's weird because in the main, when many decisions start to be made out of anxiety-driven behaviour, that's the very time where often there needs to be some stopping and taking stock. So I think there's some first step around organisational consciousness is what are the questions we need to ask ourselves that deepen our sense of what it is we're connected to. And how do you ask the kinds of questions that cause more people in more places within an organisation to ask better questions? And I think organisational consciousness, there are, a bit like with children, where there are, when I learned to be a primary school teacher many years ago. And one of the things that was talked about was finding the optimum moment in a child. Because there's a point when a child is doing something where their mind opens. There's a realisation that something more is required, an aha experience. And we've been fortunate in being invited to work with organisations when they realise they're often on a threshold. Maybe not a crisis, but a crossroads. And that seems to be quite a good point, a bit like in the human being. When there's a crossroads point in a person's life, there is a chance for more consciousness. I think that's the same in organisations. What is aligning is the planetary questions. 20 years ago, in many entities, it was HIV and AIDS that was the big fear. Now I think there is something around global questions that creates a lever for an entity to think differently about what its purpose is. And this ties back to the Global Responsible Leadership Initiative. If any entity, human or organisational, has to face the question of what is your purpose, that creates an opportunity for new consciousness. So I think there's a few forces that are coming together in the world that allow new questions to emerge, and when new questions emerge, new awareness has a chance of creeping in. Once new awareness starts to emerge, then I think we become conscious of more than what we are usually conscious of. Our field widens. I think those forces help hugely, helping an organisation to gain more consciousness. And then I think this deepening, and I see it as layers. So we're working with one organisation where they've revisited their reason for being in the world, what's their purpose. And they've come up with a purpose that's fairly functional. It will work. And we've worked with it for a few months, but increasing numbers of people are saying, do you know, I think there's more to it than that. There's something that's more heartfelt. There's something more important than just that. And one of the people we work with in that group, they said, do you know, this is a very emergent process. Usually they're used to having to have an idea and then following it through. This organisation is allowing people a little more time to work things out, and as a result they can't help but go a little deeper. And as they go a little deeper, new things start to emerge that seem to me to have more heart about them. I think those are elements of organisations gaining more consciousness.